Watch this carefully. The person you just saw, they have exactly what you have. Same tools, the same potential, the same 24 hours. But there's one difference that changes everything. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what it is. First, you and I both know we won't agree on everything, and that's nothing personal. Go outside and try to convince someone of something as simple as the shape of Earth. You will find someone who disagrees with you. Go deeper, ask how we got here. Was it an accident or was it on purpose? It's a pretty tough one wanting to get everyone to agree on, right? But there is one thing that we all share. Why do some people have a lot of this? Why do some others barely touch it? Why do some people even resent those who have it? Without it, you wouldn't be here right now. No music, no technology, no language, yet it is available to everyone all the time. But most people only use a small fraction. By the end of this, you will see how you can grab more of it. The choice will be yours. The one thing that we all share is expression. Expression is actually taking what's in your head and producing it into reality. If you actually look around at everything right now, a cup of coffee or this camera right here, this was just all once just an idea in someone's head before they expressed it outwards. Expression is the bridge between what lives in your head and what becomes real. Everything around you began as a thought someone decided to express it. I believe everyone can express, but we are often limited in how much we let ourselves express. Any skill or anything you see others do is just a sequence of expressions. Anyone can do it. It's not a mystical gift. It's just a sequence of actions you can watch and copy. For example, imagine we are people from the Amazon forest and we stumble on our phone. We watch what's on it. Then we see someone call out downward dog, warrior, cobra. We could copy those expressions, but without actually understanding the context. We would most likely assume it's a battle routine or just a dance routine they do. Both you and I understand the video is yoga. So what I'm trying to get here is any expression you witness can be decoded. The only gap between you and the skill is recognizing the sequence of expressions that created it. This applies to singing, playing an instrument, and even running a business. I'm not comfortable talking to the camera. I've never been a great public speaker. If you ask people who I went to uni with, they will tell you when I did presentations, I was probably not the best, shaking and stuff and all that stuff. But then I realized I used to think people who presented were naturally born with talent. Later on, I learned that the only thing that lacked was understanding the sequence of expressions. Everywhere you look, someone is creating something entirely new. We are all part of this grand experiment, and each of us carries something no one else can bring to the table. So if we can all learn any expression, what do most people hold back? This question haunted me until I realized we are not limited in what we can do. We are limited by what we think we can do. But how did those limits get there in the first place? Those invisible limits aren't random. They come from three places. Let's call them barriers. The first barrier is your environment. You have no control over where you are born, the country, the culture. They all shape how you see the world before you even notice it. I grew up in Zimbabwe where the beach culture was not really a thing. I would not have thought say, hey guys, I want to be a surfer. But if I had been born near the Australian coast, I would have had that opportunity because it's just an hour drive to the beach. So your environment trains you to see some things as possible and other things as out of reach. Until you notice it, you won't realize how much it limits your expression. The second barrier is social expectations. The way I describe it is like we're all wearing a set of uniforms. These uniforms shape how we talk, the food that we eat, the music that we listen to, or the people we associate with. A uniform is more than clothes. It's the invisible rules you follow so you fit in. It could be how you talk, the job you go for, or even the age you are supposed to have kids. Most people get uniforms from their parents, friends, or culture. The tricky part is you might think you're making your own choices, but you are really just copying what everyone else is doing. That's why it feels normal, even when it's not what you truly want. If someone presented you with a new uniform, one that could actually give you more freedom, you might reject it. Not because it's wrong, but it's because it feels unfamiliar to you and the people around you. Some people live their whole lives waiting for permission to wear something different. The third barrier is trauma. As kids, we all had our own way of expressing ourselves. I imagine you as a kid chasing this little ball of life, then something grabs you and all of a sudden you lose sight of the ball. You go through something painful that changes you. This one experience sets a limit on your expression. I describe this as being lost in the forest. What I mean is, although you are physically past the incident or you escaped the forest, mentally you are still there. Even if you live in a safe neighborhood surrounded by houses, all it takes is seeing 4 trees and suddenly feels like you're back in the forest. It gives you the illusion that you're still lost. If you don't recognize these 3 barriers, it will be hard to escape the prison that sets your limits. After all, you cannot escape a prison if you don't know you're in one. To give you an idea of the prison from a different perspective, let's borrow a story from a philosopher named Plato. Prisoners are chained to a wall and all they can see are moving shadows. A fire burns behind them. Objects pass in front of the fire, casting shadows on the wall. Those shadows are all they've ever seen. To them, the shadows are reality. One day, one prisoner breaks free. He stumbles into the sunlight and sees the real world for the first time. Colors, shapes, the sun itself. When he returns to tell the others and invites them to see it, they resist. They laugh at him. They threaten him. They prefer the safety of the shadows over the risk of an unknown truth. In Plato's story, the real prison is not the cave, it is the mind. If you only live in the world you believe you see, then what world have you been living in? To show how one event can change how we see the world, let's look from an elephant's perspective. In Thailand, when a baby elephant, a calf, is 3 months old, it is tied to a post. The calf struggles and pulls, but eventually it gives up because it's not strong enough. 10 years later, the same elephant can move trees, flip cars, but at the end of the day, it is still tied to the same post. We both know the elephant is strong enough to pull the post out of the ground, but it doesn't. It's called learned helplessness. You stop trying because past failures taught you it's pointless even though everything has changed. The elephant carries that belief from childhood into adulthood. The belief persists even when it's no longer true. So the tragedy isn't weakness, it's not knowing how strong it has become. Lucky for us, the good news is similar to the elephant, we can remove those limits. I've noticed 3 ways people break through. Crisis, something happens and you have no choice. You discover you can stand up for yourself and push past that limitation. The second one, someone shows you what is possible. They explain things in a way that finally makes sense and you realize you can break through on your own. The third way is you recognize your own growth. You look at what you can do now versus what held you back then and realize the limitation no longer applies. Or you see someone else do it and realize if they can do it, so can you. After breaking free, there are 2 things that can happen. First, you think, okay, I'm happy, I am content, I've removed that limiting belief, that post holding me back. I'm just going to stop here now. Or you might move on to a second thought. What else can I do? Surely there are more areas where I'm actually stronger. Then you test yourself to see how far can you go. Maybe you'll find that feeling again, that little ball of light you were chasing back then. From here on, you should be fine as long as you understand this. In order to get a skill, to become a master skill, you just have to learn a sequence of expressions to be able to get that skill. And then once you have that skill, you can learn other expressions as well. The more skills that you get or the more expressions you can create is then you then can create something that's quite unique to you. Because depending on where you started from, like we all had a different starting point. So we're not going to make something the same way. So that's why I always say there is something quite unique in all of us because you are coming from an angle or from a perspective that no one else has seen before. But your truth is you know what you've seen. And therefore, if you're able to trace that steps and be quite truthful to yourself, to the things that you've seen, I believe that's when more creative it comes. And I think everyone has that ability